Welcome to the P.A.S. Report podcast. If you're tired of censorship, outraged by government abuses, and thirsty for real insights, then you're in the right place. Get ready, because here, the fight for freedom never ends. Here's your host, Professor Nick Giordano.
Welcome, everyone, to the P.A.S. Report podcast. This is your host, Nick Giordano. I'm glad you could join me today. Make sure you are following and subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Also, visit the P.A.S. Report website, pasreport.com. Share this episode with your family and friends. And don't forget to check out the America's Founding series. Each week on Thursday, I highlight another forgotten patriot, someone who has not received their due when they helped shape this country to what it is today. So check it out and share it. Now, for today, I got three important topics that I want to discuss because there is a lot going on in the United States, around the world, and we have to get to it. And it's impossible to get to it all, but we're going to try here at the PAS Report. And the first thing that I want to take a look at is President Trump. He's now over the 100 days in office, and this week is a very important week to watch what happens with the negotiations between Russia and Ukraine and potentially ending that war. And the reason that it's so important is because Trump has staked a lot of political capital when it comes to ending the war in Ukraine. And now there is enormous pressure on Trump to deliver. When we look at it, we now see that Putin is trying to play hardball. Last week, President Trump secured the minerals deal in the Ukraine. And listen, that is such an important move. It reduces our reliance on China for some rare earth minerals. It allows the United States to increase its power and influence. And it pushes back against any future Russian aggression inside the Ukraine. I explained it all a few weeks ago why this mineral deal is so important. However, you have Putin that says he wants to negotiate, but he's really not. He's playing hardball. And Trump needs to step up the pressure on Vladimir Putin. He needs to make it clear that if Putin's not serious about negotiations, if he's not serious about a peace between the two countries, then we are going to increase the pressure on him. And what I mean by that is Trump needs to explicitly tell Vladimir Putin that if he's not willing to come to the table or be serious in these negotiations, well, then the United States will provide even more sophisticated weaponry to the Ukraine. We will arm the Ukrainians to the teeth. And at the end of the day, Russia will still probably win inside Ukraine. We get that. But we're not going to make it easy for them. In fact, we're going to make it so difficult that it is going to cost Russia a fortune. It is going to cost Russia an enormous amount in blood and treasure in order to win the Ukraine. That when Putin looks back, the cost versus benefit analysis won't make any sense because it will take Russia about 100 years before they could even possibly hit the break-even point. You have to use pressure like this in order to get deals done. That's the important thing. You know, when we look at it, the fact of the matter is Trump staked an enormous amount of political capital in ending this conflict. He's supposed to be the great negotiator. Remember, the art of the deal. And it's important to know when to walk away from negotiations because you don't want to be played for like a fool. And Reagan did this with Gorbachev, and it worked great. Okay, it was only, a couple months later that the Soviets called us and wanted to return back to the table. So you need to know when to walk away. But you have to make sure there's consequences if we walk away. That's the key. You can't just walk away and there's no consequences on whichever party screwed up the negotiations. If President Trump walks away and there's not consequences for Russia, he's going to appear weak in the eyes of the international community. And I could guarantee you that if that happens, our adversaries are only going to grow more aggressive, not less aggressive. It's going to make him look weak. And of course, all this is going to hinge on what actually happens with Iran. So it's important to note that Putin may be taking a wait-and-see approach. He wants to see whether or not we're going to strike Iran because he knows if we get engaged in a war with Iran, well, we're not going to be able to arm the Ukrainians. We're not going to be able to focus on the Ukrainians. We're going to have to focus on our own war. Putin's not a dumb man. He gets that. He realizes that. And he realizes that any war with Iran and Ukraine's essentially on their own, and obviously Russia gets the upper hand. So he may be playing the wait and see approach, but you have to start increasing the pressure, because at the end of the day, it's about results. That's what it comes down to. And President Trump is a results-oriented person. Remember, I mean, we all know presidents are narcissistic, and he's narcissistic. We know that he wants to be seen. He's looking at his legacy. He is only the second president in United States history to serve 2 non-consecutive terms. And while he trolls his political opponents about a potential 3rd term, and his political opponents fall for the bait every single time, he knows that right now he's playing for his legacy. And he's got about 2.5 to 3 years, because the lame duck kicks in. So he's got to get something done. He's got to show results. He knows that. And listen, we're going to follow the developments here at the P.A.S. Report podcast. That's why you want to subscribe, so you make sure that you know exactly what's going on in the international community, and you recognize that the United States, with all the problems we face, there is a sense of optimism. There is a sense of hope that something can be done. So keep it here. With that being said, I want to move to 2 other important topics. And I want to look at the question of whether or not Democrats regret going all in behind Abrego Garcia, because the more we learn about this individual, the more he seems like a piece of human scum. There's no other way to put it. And I will show you video clips of what's being released out there. And then I want to focus on the bureaucracy and whether or not the bureaucracy, particularly the FBI, has allowed human trafficking to flourish within the United States. When they could disrupt it, they show no interest. And I want to examine that question, because what does it say about our country when you have the premier law enforcement agencies allowing human traffickers to go free, but yet they want to target parents at school board meetings? They want to target Catholics at churches. It really is astonishing what's going on, because it seems like the more we learn about this individual, he's not your typical Maryland dad that Democrats try to make him out to be. The reason I want to bring this up is because Democrats made it as if he's the soccer coach for children. He's someone that does all this volunteer service, helping the homeless, like Father of the Year. Yet, I don't know how many Maryland dads are actually serial spousal abusers. I mean, I don't really think there's too many out there. And I don't know how many Maryland dads are alleged human traffickers. Let's be honest. Now, I want you to take a listen to what his own spouse had to say about him in a civil proceeding when she was trying to get a protective order, because it really is astonishing. You have to take a listen to this.
I came to fill out a protective order. I think it was in December. But I didn't show up to the court because his family washed my brain telling me that his dad was sick and not to do it. So I didn't do anything. But after that, it was I would call the police. I have a lot of police reports, and I kept trying to get to the door basement to try to open the door, and then he pushed me. So then when I was able to go outside to get a phone, I called 911 from a disconnected phone. Now they took a long time to get to the house. It was probably 20-30 minutes. So I saw a neighbor walking his dog, and I opened the door and I was like, help. And then when he heard me, he grabbed me from my hair and then he slapped me. And then the neighbor, he didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to react. I have pictures of the evidence, all the bruises, because even on Wednesday, he hit me around 3 in the morning. He would just wake up and hit me. And then last Saturday for my daughter's birthday party, before I went to my daughter's birthday party, he slapped me 3 times. And then last week I did call the police. My sister called the police because he hit me in front of my sister.
That was truly astonishing when you listen to her words, when you listen to what this piece of scum did. And this is who Democrats went all in for. This is a good lesson why when stories immediately break, I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, I don't care if you're just an ordinary person out there. This is why you take a step back and you wait. You wait until you have all the information before you begin to judgments. This is why you have to be very careful in this day and age, because obviously all this information was public information that was available if the journalists and Democrats wanted to find it out before they decided to go all in for Abrego Garcia. Senators Chris Van Hollen and the other congressmen and women that went down to El Salvador to defend this guy, they're now saying they were never defending him, that it wasn't about him. It was about due process, even though Abrego Garcia did receive his due process. The violation of the Trump administration was that he wasn't allowed to be sent to El Salvador, and that's where they sent him. But when we're looking at it and we examine this guy, Abrego Garcia, what Democrats did was they rushed, they jumped the gun. They thought that this was it. This was the issue that was going to take Trump down. Now, first of all, most Americans have no problem with deporting criminal illegal aliens. And the more they hear about Abrego Garcia, I will guarantee you that many Americans are happy he's gone. I mean, let's be honest here. Politics isn't just about the policies and the issues. It's also about optics. Optics plays an important role. And Democrats have chosen to go all in on an alleged gang member from MS-13, a human trafficker, a spousal abuser, all because they despise Trump. And they never think to themselves that the whole reason that Trump was elected the first time was actually immigration. He was the only candidate that was focused on that issue. And the reason he was reelected was mainly because of Biden's open borders and economics. So we look at it, and Democrats are on the losing side of the issue. But it doesn't just end there. It's not just about that. There's other things that are taking place, too, because we have new video of Abrego Garcia. And I want to play this other clip because I think it is extremely important. I think when you see everything going on, when we look at Abrego Garcia, it really reveals who he is. So take a listen to this clip.
How dark are your windows? Huh? How dark's the back windows?
Window?
Stand by. How dark are they?
The color.
Yeah.
From Texas is good.
How many rows have you got in here? 4?
Where?
4 seats? 4 rows of seats?
Yeah, it's three seats. Yeah, with it. Yeah.
Did y'all put an extra one in?
Huh?
Did y'all put another one in?
No.
Did it come like this?
It's the truck.
I've never seen one with that many seats in it.
What you say? It's my boss.
I said I've never seen one with that many seats
Oh,
in
really?
it. Yeah. That's why I was asking if you'd put an extra one in.
No, it's the same. Like this.
Okay.
You know what you got, right? You know what you got here, right?
No.
He's hauling these people for money, is what he's doing. But sometimes they commingle dope.
No, but
He,
did you see that squad at the back?
there's 8 people in there.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know that. They put an extra.
Not for nothing, but every single Democrat that attempted to put this guy on a pedestal should be held accountable by the voters when they're up for re-election. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is astonishing. This is newly released body cam footage of Abrego Garcia being pulled over by Tennessee Highway Patrol. And the video raises serious questions. It took place in 2022, December of 2022. Abrego Garcia pulled over by Tennessee Highway Patrol for speeding. Garcia told the officer that it was his boss's vehicle, that he was just working a construction project in St. Louis, Missouri, and he's transporting these individuals, and he's going home to Maryland. Amazing. The officers immediately noticed that there was 8 other people in the car, so that's 9 people total, and they found it extraordinarily unusual that you would have so many people in the car and there's no luggage. The officers, when you listen to them, I mean, you watch the video, you listen to them, they were well aware this was human trafficking. They even said he's getting paid to haul these people. You have the second trooper. They don't have any luggage in there, right? And if you get them out, they're going to have tubes of toothpaste and they're going to have toothbrushes in their pockets. I guarantee it. The officers also made mention that Abrego Garcia had $1,400 in cash in an envelope in his pocket. And he had a suspended license from Maryland. And yet, nothing happened. They questioned the 8 individuals. The 8 individuals all give the same home address to the officers. And I want you to think about that. Why didn't anything happen? Again, it's clear. This is human trafficking. It's crystal clear. These individuals being transported from Texas to the East Coast, Maryland. So it's clearly human trafficking. He was being paid to drive them. He was an illegal immigrant himself. And so why didn't anything happen? It's important to note that Tennessee Highway Patrol did reach out to the FBI and ICE during this traffic stop, yet nothing was done. And the question is why? The officers are questioning him. They got 8 individuals in the car plus Abrego, so that's 9 individuals in one truck. That's it. No luggage whatsoever, transporting individuals. You know, you finish a construction project in St. Louis, Missouri, you're traveling back to Maryland, you would think that you would have a change of clothes with you, right? You would think you would have suitcases. How long was this construction project? I could assure you that it wasn't a one-day type of thing. The officers that pulled them over, they clearly know it. And the officers contact the FBI. They contact Immigrations and Custom Enforcement, ICE. According to reports, the FBI told the officers that were on the scene, just take pictures of Abrego Garcia and the passengers and release them. That's what we're getting from the reports. They then contacted ICE, but ICE officials declined to pick up Abrego Garcia and take him into custody along with the 8 other individuals. It's clear these individuals were illegally here in the United States. ICE's main mission is to remove individuals from the United States, Immigration Customs Enforcement. And so why? That's the important question. Because it's obvious human trafficking was take place, and yet 2 federal agencies, not 1, but 2 federal agencies under the Biden administration refused to do anything about it. And so the question becomes, did the FBI, did ICE officials allow human traffickers to roam free in the United States? Now, there are only 2 possible reasons that you wouldn't detain these individuals. There are only 2 possible reasons that the feds wouldn't do anything about this. The first reason, and I don't believe this is the case, but the first reason would be that Abrego Garcia was an informant for the FBI. Maybe he was a gang informant. Again, I don't think that's true. I don't think he was an informant, because if that were the case, then Abrego Garcia probably would have never been removed from the United States at all. So I think that the real reason is the second reason. What can the second reason possibly be? Well, think about it. We're talking about this took place in December of 2022. And that's the Biden administration. And the Biden administration had made it clear that they have no interest in enforcing immigration laws in the United States. They have no interest in immigration enforcement. Remember, President Biden said, my hands are shackled. There's nothing I could do about the border. I need Congress to pass comprehensive immigration reform. Meanwhile, Trump's been in office, 2 months, 3 months? And you have border crossings down by 97%. Yet under Biden, he said he couldn't do anything about it. But that's what it was about. It wasn't about enforcing immigration law. These people didn't want to enforce immigration law. And they didn't care that human trafficking was going on. Human traffickers like Garcia were able to operate openly and freely, knowing that they were going to face little to no consequences. You know, maybe it was the idea of equity, right? We're going to allow these people, they're just hard workers, right? They're picking our crops. They're bussing our tables. They're mowing our lawns. If we get rid of them, if we get rid of these 9 individuals, then who's going to clean our houses and who will pick our crops for us? That's the Democrat mindset. And I will bet that Biden-era officials and those at the FBI will soon be coming out to say that, well, we had no evidence that criminal activity was taking place, and that's why Abrego Garcia wasn't picked up at the time. That the officers on the scene, they only suspected human trafficking was occurring. They didn't have real evidence to prove it. But let me ask you something. Does that fly with you? Because the FBI hasn't had a lot of evidence to go after people, but they still went after them. When we look at parents attending school board meetings, they didn't have any evidence that parents were going to be a threat. And yet parents were still threat tagged. Well, school board meetings were threat tagged, parents investigated. Or what about Catholics, right? We get the traditional Catholic memo. The FBI doing their great intel analysis that Catholics have the potential to be domestic violent extremists. So it's important for the FBI to infiltrate churches to try and recruit informants. But what evidence did they have to support that theory? What evidence did they have to support the hypothesis that Catholics have a proclivity toward domestic violent extremism? And the answer is they didn't have any. They didn't have any. So here you got a guy that's traveling with 8 other individuals. None of them have ID on them. Everyone knows they're illegally here. I mean, that's obvious. $1,400 cash in a pocket. Toothpaste, toothbrushes probably in their pockets. They weren't searched. But we're going to say there wasn't evidence that potential human trafficking was taking place. Yet when it came to Catholics, they had no evidence whatsoever. But the answer is rather simple. They didn't care about evidence. Because we don't have public servants in office. These are ideologues that are in office. And so they didn't like positions that Catholics take, that many Catholics take when it comes to things like abortion or gender ideology. And they're just going to put a label on them. Domestic violent extremists. Yet when you have actual human traffickers in the United States, they're willing to turn a blind eye because they don't care. They will help foster human trafficking, essentially. All because it doesn't fit narratives. And that's what it always comes down to. It always comes down to the narratives when you have ideologues in place, in these offices, in these institutions. That's why it's important to clean this up. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing too much cleanup going on. But we need to rid the bureaucracy of these ideologues, because when you could target particular groups simply because you don't like their political positions, and at the same time, you're letting people freely come across the border and you're letting people freely engage in human trafficking without any consequence. Something seriously wrong with that type of system. When we're looking at everything taking place, when we look at what's been going on in the United States, I've been looking at the insanity. This Tennessee Highway Patrol video of Abrego Garcia transporting individuals, 8 individuals, allegedly engaging in human trafficking, this raises serious questions about the entire system. When you see that video and you listen to those officers, they know exactly what's going on, and yet the federal government refused to do anything about it. They refused to send anyone to the scene to investigate further. You had 2 agencies that were contacted, the FBI and ICE, and they did nothing. They allowed someone who was trafficking human beings to freely go on his way. And there's something terribly wrong with that. Because that is not supposed to be the system that we're living in. And as I revealed a couple weeks ago with the National Strategy for Countering Domestic Terrorism, as Tulsi Gabbard, the ODNI director, released the Strategic Implementation Plan, I clearly laid out how they used the national strategy to target ordinary Americans. So you as an American, an ordinary American, get targeted maybe because of your political beliefs. You'll be silenced, you'll be censored, you'll be investigated, you'll be monitored, you'll be threat tagged based on who you support politically. But yet when it comes to actual criminals, organized crime taking place, they're going to look the other way. How could anyone take that system seriously? How? And this is the problem that we're confronted with in 2025. Now, with the election of Donald Trump, we hope it gets cleaned up. He's now president of the United States. He's ultimately in charge of the bureaucracy, and the buck stops with him. And so we need to begin to see people punished for the abuses of power, punished for weaponizing the system against ordinary Americans, for allowing people like Abrego Garcia to thrive in the United States, to freely commit crimes in the United States, and never face accountability, yet at the same time, they jam up ordinary Americans because they believe those ordinary Americans that those opinions are the wrong opinions. That's troubling. This is not what the Founding Fathers intended this country to be. They intended a government that was responsive to the people, a government that would protect the people. And yet we've allowed this bureaucracy to grow to a level where it's taken a life on its own. And if Trump is unable to rein in the bureaucracy, I think it raises the question, when we talk about the deep state, when we talk about the swamp, has the bureaucracy emerged as the 4th branch of government? A branch of government that is above the legislative, executive, and judicial branches. A branch of government that answers to no one. A branch of government that operates with impunity. And I think that Congress should immediately call for hearings. And I know I'm tired of the investigations and the hearings where We never get any type of resolution where it's just bloviating for the cameras. We want to see results. But I think we need to have hearings over this Tennessee Highway Patrol video because it is extremely revealing. And the FBI needs to be questioned directly. Those agents, whoever received that phone call from Tennessee Highway Patrol, needs to clearly answer the question, why did you allow this individual to go? ICE needs to clearly answer the question, why did you not go to the scene and at least question the individuals to see what was going on? Because it raises serious questions. And we need answers to these questions. We have to hold the bureaucracy accountable. And unfortunately, you have Congress that has the power of oversight. They are the ones that could actually rein in these agencies, but they have shown an unwillingness to do just that. You have a president that has campaigned on reining in the bureaucracy. And in certain areas, he is making good on that progress, trying to downsize government, cutting bureaucratic waste, fraud, and abuse, trying to reorganize departments and agencies, eliminating potential agencies that have abused their power and have not fulfilled their missions. But we need to see more in the high-profile, high-powered agencies, the alphabet agencies like the FBI, like the Department of Homeland Security, because what's taking place, or what has taken place, is unacceptable. And we need answers. Are the individuals, the ones that got this call, are they still employed by the FBI and ICE? And if so, why? Why are the individuals that were involved in developing the Catholic memo, why are they still employed by the FBI? Why haven't they faced any consequences? Accountability in the system is essential if you want to restore trust. There's a reason that the American people have low confidence in their institutions, why people don't trust their institutions. It's because nobody is ever held accountable. We need to call for accountability, and we need to demand more from our federal officials. I don't care what political party they belong to. Everything we're witnessing is why the founders preached about limited government. Everything we're witnessing is the reason that the founding fathers wanted us to be responsible citizens and call the government out when it faces abuses. It's why we have a Declaration of Independence. It's why we have a Constitution. The government is supposed to be limited. It's not supposed to have free reign. But unfortunately today it appears that it does have the free reign, that it can do what it wants without consequence. It's time to change that. Now, if you found the content of this episode informative, please give the P.A.S. report a 5-star rating, leave 30 seconds, write a good review, and share this episode with your family and friends. Because what's going on is not normal. Democrats will say, oh, it's not normal. President, attacks the judicial branch of government. No, it's not normal that we allow human traffickers to roam free in the United States when we clearly know what's going on. That's not normal. And we need to get a handle on this. I want to thank you for joining me, and I'll be back on Wednesday with another great episode of the P.A.S. Report podcast.
Thank you for listening to the P.A.S. Report. Don't forget to rate, share, and hit that subscribe button. That way you'll never miss an episode. For more exclusive content and updates, visit us at PASreport.com and follow Professor Giordano on all social media platforms at P.A.S. Report.